Welcome to session 8, part 8 of You, Me, and Sacred Birth, a virtual book reading and Q&A discussion series. I am Dr. Karen Scott, she, her, hers. You can call me Scotty. I'm the Chief Black Feminist Physician Scientist, founding CEO and owner of Birth and Culture Rigor. And in my daily work life, I interrogate or critique the provision of obstetric care in hospital settings, as well as the evaluation of those care models using participatory, multi-level, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methodologies that are grounded in cultural rigor. And so cultural rigor sits at the intersection of scientific rigor and cultural humility. Um, and it allows me to simultaneously operationalize Black feminism, research justice, and reproductive justice as a framework, as a vision, as a movement, and as a praxis. So that's what I do in my everyday life. And thank you for other people who have joined the Mentimeter and for sharing. So again, as you share, your responses become populated and visualized in real time. So you have someone who says that their primary role is to learn. Someone's managing a team of contract configuration analysts. They make sure that the providers get paid. And then someone else is a co-founder and co-ed of Bronx Rebirth and Progress. Um, with those letters there, and it's a Bronx, New York-based doula and training. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you for your patience as we were having some tech challenges. So you may have already shared this in the chat when Cheyenne was opening the session for us while I navigated the tech challenges. So again, welcome. And if you would like, please share with us why you are joining today's session. And so as I guess the responses are coming in, hopefully it's not a tech issue again. I'm joining today because I am just really grateful for the opportunity to share this work with you all in this particular setting. All prior 7 sessions have been recorded. I think 6 of the 8 are definitely uploaded on the Birth and Culture Rigor YouTube channel. So I will also put the link to that in the box so that you can also go to our YouTube channel and review, save, share, subscribe to our channel, but also you can enjoy the last 6 sessions. And then hopefully before the year ends, we will upload the final 2 sessions for this series. I am unsure if anyone has written anything, if there's a delay. If not, I am going to keep going so that we can at least get to the book. Um, so here are the activities that we also do. I ask for folks to think of one word that comes to mind when describing usually the chapter title or topic. So for today, chapter 8 is Emancipating Black Reproducing Bodies and Black Births. So if you can think of one word that comes to mind when describing emancipation during childbirth. And the reason why I ask for one word, because it will show your responses in real time as a word cloud so that the one word that's used most frequently in the group will be in the center and the largest word. And the words that are used not as frequently will be around the center word so that we can still honor what you are sharing, but we can kind of see how it's organized based upon your response. So thank you very much for the first responders. The one word that comes to mind for you all is choice and freedom. And since those words are used equally one time, they are both the largest words and they're kind of in the center. Does anyone else want to add another word, even if you've already responded? I believe you can add, yep, you can participate like 2 more times. Thank you for the third responder for sharing that the one word that comes to mind when describing emancipation during childbirth is power. Does anyone have another word they would like to share before I move forward to the next question? Okay, I will keep going. And again, if you would like to come off of mute, you can if you want to share aloud. So the next question. Now, in your own kind of set of words where you can use brief phrases or whole sentences, describe the meaning of emancipating Black reproducing bodies and Black births. So, beyond one word, what does the meaning, what meaning does emancipating Black reproducing bodies and Black births, um, how does that fall for you? How does that land for you? What words, phrases, or sentences, or thoughts and feelings come to mind when you can write more about the meaning of emancipating Black reproducing bodies and Black births? Thank you, first responder. So, understanding Black reproducing bodies individually and addressing them accordingly. Thank you very much. Does anyone else want to offer their thoughts um, about what it means for emancipating Black reproducing bodies and Black births? Thank you. The second responder, the freedom to have the birth that you desire and deserve. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else want to share an additional thought or idea or feeling?
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm like cooking, so it's hard to stop to use the Mentimeters. I'm trying to multitask poorly. But I think I
It's
wanted to
okay.
add
You
that
can talk aloud.
I think that it also what comes up for me is
Mm-hmm,
the community benefit. I think that
mm-hmm,
as a doula, like one of the things that comes up a lot is that our community often like where we are in the Bronx, like they always like I heard this or I heard that.
mm-hmm,
So I think
mm-hmm,
they just really emancipating Black reproducing bodies and Black births also adds more context to like what you heard. So
mm-hmm,
you didn't just hear stories of like trauma and
mm-hmm.
things that are exclusively negative, but you also get to um, add additional experiences to the dictionary of sort of
Yeah,
access that people have.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Evelyn. Thank you. Um, and thank you for someone else who added the birth justice framework from, I believe, Southern Black Justice Network. Absolutely. Okay, you can continue to add your responses. I'm going to keep going since, again, I had tech issues and there was a delay. So, kind of following in alignment with what was just added on the screen, as well as what Evelyn shared aloud, what do emancipated Black reproducing bodies and Black births look like? What do they look like? How do they show up? What do they sound like? What does it feel? So, trying to think about all of our senses, right? In terms of sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. What does all of that mean? How does that all manifest when we're thinking about emancipated Black reproducing bodies and Black births? And I know, Evelyn, you cannot participate typing. If you, anytime you want to share aloud, please feel free to do so, and others as well. This is just a method for me to kind of archive responses and just to remember, what this group of participants felt and believed at this time. Because I will likely do this again in the future and want to be able to show the growth and development of progress. So again, when thinking about collectively our senses, um, again, sight, sound, smell, touch, and I said touch and taste and touch, all those kinds of things. What do emancipated Black reproducing bodies and births look like? How do they show up? What do they sound like? What are they doing? Or what are they not doing, right? It all depends on how you frame it. Thank you, first responder. So they're seen, they're present, they're content. Absolutely. Any additional thoughts or feelings? And you can, for this, you can again write full phrases, full sentences, or you can do brief phrases or incomplete sentences. You are not confined by one word. So you can write out whole sentences if you want. And thank you, second responder. You wrote empowered. So if you want to write out more about what these words that you put up in terms of seen, present, content, empowered, words are very powerful, but also we don't want to assume that your meaning of what it of being seen, present, content, and empowered, that we share the same meaning or reference, or that we both agree in how these concepts or actions manifest. So if you would like to clarify, add more depth to your response, you are also invited to do so. Again, you can write or you can come off of mute and share aloud. And I'll leave a little bit more time if folks want to add things or to clarify. Thank you. Responder, peaceful, joyous, without interference from systems of oppression, listening to rain, feeling calm, smells of family and community, the kitchen humming with a pot of soup boiling. Beautiful imagery, metaphors. I feel that, I smell that, I see that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the other person who responded. An array of skin tones, absolutely. Moving without restraint, happy, smiling, radiant, singing and talking, being in community with each other safely. Yes, this is the power of right of our words, of language, right? Language shapes culture. It shapes how we see things, how we understand things, how we respond to things, how we recognize things. Um, Also how we remember, right? How we recover, how we reflect, how we repair, right? We think about rest and restore and relaxing. So that is the power of words. So thank you for going into more depth. I'll continue to read. And as you see, as more responses come in, the screen does move up to kind of show that. So one response, they're content because they are honored. Yes, absolutely. They are seen because they are met at whatever point they are at. Present because they are respected and honored. As such, there's no need to be in fight or flight, right? Or freeze or fawn. Absolutely. And so I am going to keep going. And before, I just want to say thank you because your responses, the choice of your words, which I can only imagine are intentional, reflects, right, the work that's in throughout all 8 chapters of this book. And so I just also want to ask that when you consider what this group has written around what it means to be seen, heard, um, present, content, the doing and the undoing, or all those things so that people can experience emancipation during childbirth, how often do you see an instrument to measure and capture the way we justify emancipation? What frameworks and quality improvement and implementation science and patient safety reflect back to us what you've shared based on your positionality, your experience, your expertise, the communities that you come from, that you serve, that you collaborate with? How are we seeing this? And I don't think there are many frameworks that do this um, in the space of childbirth. So I just want to say thank you so very much for participating in that. There may be one more question or not. Yes, 2 more. This is the kind of true, false, unsure. So the sacred birth quality framework can be used to uncover the presence of obstetric racism in any written text describing Black births. And this is just a question to get a sense of, we're at this 8th session, what people know to be true, false, or they're unsure about kind of the validity of the statement. So the sacred birth quality framework can be used to uncover the presence of obstetrical racism in any written text describing Black births. There are 5 people in the corner here. They're on. And so 2 of the 5 people who responded, they all said the statement is true. If you also want to add a different response, you can. We can talk about it when we're reading, but thank you for responding. I think this is the last one. So, because for chapter 8, it was all about solutions, right? Going back to what Evelyn shared, this is an opportunity to kind of add to like the lexicon of terminology, of experiences, of expectations, of expressions around birthing while Black in a hospital setting. And so I wanted to close my book on exactly this and calling to mind really being influenced by Dorothy Roberts, right, in killing the Black reproducing body. What is it about emancipating, plural, right, Black reproducing bodies and Black births? So, with this image here and thinking about, again, emancipation and liberation, what types of multi level solutions do you recommend based upon your experience, expertise, your expectations, and the roles that you play and the relationships that you have, right? What types of multi-level solutions do you recommend to address obstetric racism and to emancipate and liberate Black reproducing bodies and Black births? Because even while we address to prevent or mitigate obstetric racism, that alone will not get us to kind of the promised land of justice, right? We need to simultaneously prevent and mitigate harm, and then curate options and opportunities and conditions for people to experience emancipation and liberation, right, freely. So, what are the types of multi level solutions? When I say multi level in my book, I chose 3, which I will go through. I will name 1 or 2 per level. I did structural, institutional, and disciplinary level. So when you share your idea of a solution, can you share what level is it? Is it at the level of the patient? Is it like an interpersonal level between the patient and their child? When I say patient, the Black mother or birthing person, is it at the patient, at the Black mother birthing person level? Is it interpersonal between the Black mother and birthing person and their child, right? Their child, their partner, their parent, so a grandparent, their peer, so another Black mother birthing person, um, or the provider or clinician or staff person, and then keeping moving kind of beyond interpersonal. Is it at some community level? Is it at the institutional level? Is it at some political or structural level? What type of solution do you kind of feel right now that would allow us to address such a racism and also to emancipate and liberate Black reproducing bodies and Black births? This was a little more difficult, but I wanted to kind of get a sense of what you're thinking before I start reading. Um, so we can see the areas of where we are aligning together or where we may differ. So structural and community, and then we see the midwifery model of care, birth center or home births, always having a doula no matter the setting. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Absolutely. What are some additional kind of multi-level solutions? And I'll kind of wait probably like another 60 seconds um, because of the tech stuff. We will not be ending at the 15 minutes after the hour, but I'll try to get us as close as possible because I do want to read a little bit from chapter 8. Does anyone else want to offer a solution and the level at which that their solution would kind of address? And if not, it's all good. I will move to reading. This will still be open. So thank you very much for also responded midwifery and OB collaboration. Yes, I actually spoke with a funder yesterday or the day before about the role of philanthropy in deciding the solutions for us. So while I absolutely, emphatically trust and believe doulas are part of the solution, I also would like a doula to be able to be a doula. And I hear me when I say this. I think putting the responsibility and the burden of doulas to intervene with a hospital or the OBGYN physician or the family medicine physician or the anesthesiologist or the radiologist or the general surgeon or all the people that are involved alone, I think reproduces harm and puts them in a position where they actually can't doula. They are then really being like a force field, which is what they do, but it in certain spaces that can be the undoing of the worth and value and the power of a doula by putting on them the responsibility of like policing the police. And so this midwifery OB collaborative or this doula midwifery OB collaborative, I am thinking that how do we retrain some OBs to hold our peers, our systems, our leadership accountable? Because I am very concerned with the violence that's being meted out against doulas. And then they can't even be full and whole and healed to be what they know they're called to be to families because we have doulas doing things that like the Joint Commission or ACOG or the law, right? Or the medical board or the nursing board should be doing. So I am grateful that someone wrote Midwifery OB Collaborative, and we could say doula Midwifery OB Collaborative, because doula should not be put to solve it all, especially when doulas didn't create the problem. And doulas are still having to enter systems of oppression to support, care, and nurture our families. So, what are some ways that we can still hold the system accountable to do what it's supposed to do, especially with people who have licenses to practice nursing or medicine or a license to do what they're to do in terms of as well as being like a radiology tech or a surgical tech, right? There are some standards, some accreditation, some credentialing, right, that we could be looking at to hold those people in this hierarchy accountable without harming doulas and harming the power and the relationship and the care that they're providing to our families. So that's my little thing on that. So I'm going to read. I think I'm going to do for like, oh, hold on, just kidding. These questions are like, we'll go through them quickly. So I always want to know in terms of demographics. So I put these questions at the end, like if you were to design a survey, because questions sometimes about race and ethnicity and gender can cause the respondent to not want to participate anymore in the work, in the survey or the questionnaire or the interview. So I put these questions at the end. So again, one is about what is your racial identity? And for this work, I center Blackness. So everything is in the context of Blackness, where we are not othered, we are the core. So um, are you Black, African American, in terms of how you identify? Do you identify as Black, multiracial, non-Black, multiracial, or non-Black? Because in other spaces, we are othered. So this is a way to center Blackness in the space and also represent that we are also, right, our biological and social identification can be composed of so many beautiful things. Okay, so next question is around ethnicity, around basically Hispanic or Latin ethnicity. And I'm just going to keep going. So that final question is, how do you describe yourself in terms of gender? I have 4 options. I could have done, starting like, what is your sex first and then to your gender. But because of space and wanting to make sure you see the options and the responses, we have woman, man, my gender identity isn't on the list. And then I put gender nonconforming, gender queer, gender fluid, non-binary as well. Okay, so here we go. Thank you very much. If thoughts and feelings and ideas, rebuttals, critiques come to mind while I am reading for the next, I'm probably going to read for like 15 because we were at the time where I thought we would have ended. But I'll read for like 15. which will get us to an hour. And then if there are questions or comments that we can go through, I will still stay on for that. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience with the tech issues. Thank you for participating in our kind of group activity to get to know one another and to elicit your thoughts and feelings about this work in chapter 8. And then I'm going to read. So here we go. Emancipating Black Reproducing Bodies and Black Births. Based on the lived experiences of 36 Black mothers in Oakland and Los Angeles, I developed a new theoretical framework for emancipating and liberating the full power, potential, and promise of Black reproducing bodies and Black births in hospital settings. The Sacred Birth Framework offers guiding principles that shape attitudes, values, intentions, skills, conditions, practices, and behaviors in relation to Black mothers and Black births, birth care, birth spaces, birth work, and birth partners. Sacred Birth also celebrates sexuality, sexual pleasure, and birth as affirming aspects of human life and development. As a radical attitude towards human births, specifically Blackness, Black bodies, and Black births, Sacred Birth regards all birth activities as fundamentally normal, healthy, spiritual, familial, magical, transformative, erotic, communal, emancipatory, and power activating. When considering the role of equity and justice, Sacred Birth encourages diverse and inclusive birth pleasure, practices, care, spaces, options, partners, communities, and experiences, and flourishes in the absence of structural barriers and burdens such as shame, stigma, and stigmatization. The Sacred Birth Framework mobilizes a movement for community advocates and hospital champions to support and promote safer, respectful, dignified, higher quality participatory birth care, conditions, experiences, and outcomes, as well as improved workforce diversification, development, sustainability, and restoration of Black midwifery care and Black doula support models as part of its campaign. In 2020, I recruited and mobilized a new team of patient, community, and content experts as the principal investigator and designated and led the Sacred Birth in the Time of COVID-19 study to acknowledge, affirm, activate, and amplify the voices, lived experiences, wisdom, and humanity of Black mothers and Black birthing people, Black women-led community-based organizations, and Black women scholars. The goal of the Sacred Birth study was to test a new survey tool designed in 2019 and owned by me, the Patient Reported Experience Measure of Obstetric Racism, also known as the PRIM OB Scale Suite. My team of Black women, patient, community, and content experts included and compensated over 900 Black women across different disciplines, generations, and states, including Black women artists, activists, and advocates from 15 community organizations and 6 non-Black women scholars. We completed 6 fundamental steps in making a novel measure and applied a Black feminist praxis across each step. Step 1, determine the theoretical framework that was developed or adapted by a Black woman community, a Black woman patient, community, or content expert. Step 2, develop a preliminary conceptual model. Step 3, review existing measures to start developing an item bank. Step 4, design new items if needed. Step 5, review the item bank with patient, community, and content experts. And step 6, pilot test and perform psychometric analysis. The specific details outlining the conceptual model, methods, results, and discussion were published in the Birth Journal in March 2022 and made available to the public via open access. My research team and I remain forever grateful to the 806 Black mothers and birthing people across 348 birthing hospitals in the United States and 34 states, including Washington, D.C., who completed the initial survey. Characteristics of the Sacred Birth study participants were similar to the U.S. Black population, with increased representation from individuals with a higher level of education. Despite Black women being one of the most formally educated demographics in the United States, our study findings demonstrated that 1 in 3 households had a total income of $25,000 or less before taxes, despite higher levels of education. The Primo Scale Suite offers 3 independent, valid measures: humanity, kinship, and racism that characterize the impact of the quality of hospital-based experiences on, excuse me, that characterize the impact of the quality of hospital-based services on patient experiences through the perspectives of Black mothers and birthing people. Each score varied significantly by socioeconomic factors previously shown to be associated with experiences of racism, including income and education levels. One key finding is that each score did not vary by reported clinical characteristics, including maternal body mass index, gestational age, and mode of delivery, demonstrating that the Prim OB scale suite measures obstetric racism independent of clinical risk that we normally look at, like BMI, pregnancy age, and mode of delivery, vaginal birth or cesarean birth. Therefore, the prioritization of clinical outcomes as quality and safety indicators to evaluate hospital performance is not an evidence-based measure of hospital performance in preventing and mitigating racism, specifically obstetric racism. I'm gonna keep going. Well, let me see. Okay, so study findings of the 806 Black mothers and birthing people who experienced labor, birth, and immediate postpartum across, again, 348 hospitals within 34 states, including DC, from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020, revealed deeper insights into the association between childbirth hospitalization in the US and obstetric racism. So we asked a series of questions that were not retained in the validated instrument to help us better understand the lived experiences of birthing as a Black mother or gender expansive person throughout the US. So one of those questions or statements, right, is this: Black mothers and birthing people who agreed or strongly agreed with the following statement were more likely to experience hospital acts of obstetric racism. The hospital made me feel that because my baby and I survived birth, my experiences in labor, birth, and postpartum did not matter. Based on the 3 subtypes of obstetric racism, Black mothers and birthing people were more than 6 times more likely to experience hospital acts of racism, both anti-Black racism and misogynoir, if they felt the hospital prioritized their survival over the quality of the experiences. Similarly, nearly Black mothers and birthing people nearly experienced 6 times there was more. Lord help me. So again, Black mothers and birthing people were nearly 6 times more likely to experience hospital acts of disrupted kinship. So again, this prioritization of survival, right, over the quality of experiences as defined by Forum with Black mothers and birthing people made uh, allowed for 6 times more likely for folks to experience disrupted kinship, more than 6 times more likely to experience hospital acts of racism, anti-Black racism, and misogynoir. And for the final measure, which is humanity, when Black mothers and birthing people were made to feel that their survival outweighed the quality of their experience by the hospital staff, they were more than 8 times more likely to experience hospital acts of dehumanization. The flip side of that is when Black mothers and birthing people felt the hospital staff were available and paid attention to them when they needed help, based on the 3 subtypes, they were essentially almost 90 to 100% less likely to experience any of those subtypes of obstetric racism. So if the hospital were just available and paid attention, they didn't say get a degree. They didn't say be the president. They didn't even say be the charge nurse or the chief nurse. They literally said if the staff were available and paid attention, then 87% were less likely to experience were less likely to experience hospital acts of racism. 90% experienced fewer hospital acts of disrupted kinship. 97% experienced fewer hospital acts of dehumanization by simply having the hospital be available and attentive when they needed help. So, to date, the Primo Scale Suite remains the first and only patient and community-driven quality improvement measure that monitors and evaluates the presence, permeation, and magnitude of obstetric racism for use in hospital perinatal improvement and implementation science. The Primo Scale Suite explicitly uncovers obstetric racism during service provision in hospital settings during labor, birth, and postpartum care. These data provide a roadmap to diagnose obstetric racism in service provision and to dismantle, design, and transform interactions, communications, counseling, decision making, and documentation and dissemination of information during patient handoffs, patient sign-outs, electronic health records, peer reviews, maternal morbidity and mortality reviews, fetal infant mortality reviews, patient complaints or grievances, employee performance improvement plans, or even depositions. So I'm going to end by providing one or two examples of strategies or solutions at the structural, institutional, and disciplinary level that will facilitate application of obstetric racism, the sacred birth framework, and the Primo Scale Suite and mainstream knowledge. So at the structural level, in this book, page 294, I recommend at least 8 or 10 things. I'm only going to mention 2 today. So at the structural level, I recommend development, testing, and evaluation of a patient and community obstetric safety hotline, which can serve as a prototype system for collecting narrative and structured data or mixed data about the quality and safety of childbirth hospitalization using the narratives mapped onto the dimensions of obstetric care and the domains of the sacred birth framework and the Primo scale, and quality scores generated from implementation of the funded and publicly accessible Primo scale using the Healthcare Safety Hotline of ARC, or I forget, Association of Healthcare Research and Quality as a model. The second recommendation under the structural level that I'm going to read, measurement, selection, and monitoring strategies, one of the 7 pain points that I talk about. So in this category, again, of measurement, selection, and monitoring strategies, I recommend implementation of measurement, monitoring, and mitigation strategies that best uncover the problem and create solutions as defined for by and with Black patient community content experts to innovate and transform measurement, selection, and monitoring strategies. Why? 2 reasons. Outcome-only measures evaluate the physical performance of the Black birthing body in response to the quality of care, as well as generations and centuries of violence, control, injustice, and dominance. So outcome-only measures are evaluating the performance of the Black reproducing body, not the performance of the hospital. Thus, the over-reliance and misuse of clinical outcome measures as performance indicators create a false narrative of quality and safety and fail to capture hospital performance based on how well or how poorly hospitals see, hear, believe, support, want, and celebrate Black people. At the institutional level, I'm going to read one. Maybe, no, I'm going to read this one. It's kind of heavy, but this is what I recommend at the institutional level. I recommend exploration and participation in a civil and criminal liability movement to address obstetric racism, taking into account the U.S. legal system. How did we do that? Well, endorsing the expansion of the definition of gender-based violence as defined by the Violence Against Women Act to include obstetric racism. Supporting your clients or larger communities navigating obstetric racism and other forms of mistreatment and discrimination to file a discrimination with the Office of Civil Rights. I know under this administration, that's an iffy. Hopefully we get through this, but that's what we were doing beforehand with Elephant Circle. So referring your clients or larger communities to Elephant Circle who are navigating obstetric racism, obstetric violence, and other forms of mistreatment and discrimination to file a discrimination with the Office of Civil Rights. And then application of the Sacred Birth Framework, obstetric racism, and ARC's quality domain during a narrative analysis of a Black patient experience as a method of evaluating the quality of hospital-based obstetric care across 3 different obstetric quality and patient safety frameworks. And last, at the disciplinary level, when I say disciplinary, I'm speaking to many different disciplines, one of which obstetrics and gynecology. So this is what I offer to my own specialty, my own medical specialty. I recommend integration of obstetric racism, the Sacred Birth Framework, and the Primo B Scale Suite as a core competency evaluation tool as approved and authorized by the Council on Resident Education in Obstetrics and Gynecology. That's called CREOG. And with that, that would entail in Unit 1, general considerations. Well, they're very various areas where CREOG talks about patient care. And so one area is this: to educate and train OBGYN residents to provide direct care and or referral for patients who are victims or survivors of the following situations, including the seventh phenomenon, obstetric racism, and refer patients or family survivors of obstetric racism to community partner organizations such as Birth and Culture Rigor to access the Primo B Scale Suite. So if you don't know, which you may not, so I think I'm the only OBGYN now here, CREOG has this entire curriculum, this residency manual around what areas of competencies they need to achieve. And in none of those areas is there any mention of obstetric violence or obstetric racism. Hence, I spent one of the disciplinary level recommendations on that. So that is it. Thank you for staying over. Are there any questions or concerns or ideas around Chapter 8, Emancipating Black Reproducing Bodies and Black Births?
I would just like to say thank you, Dr. Scott, for one. But as I finished this chapter and the last couple of pages, I think what stood out to me as I was reading it is, like you said, you stated in prior chapters, what may seem ridiculous and or routine to hospital executives, board of directors, administrators, lawyers, clinicians, social workers, and support staff may in fact be new and extraordinary, or an authentic and valid fear for Black mothers and Black families in the world today. That really stood out to me, and I never thought of it that way, but I'm
Mhm.
sure that that is what people experience.
Mhm.
And what's important to me may not be important to you, right? What I'm afraid of may not be something that you think I should be afraid of. And I think it all comes back to listening.
Mhm.
Listen to Black women, listen to birthing people, listen to patients, right? That's that patient provider um, care, that centered care that we always talk about. But that's
Mhm.
the one thing from this chapter that stood out to me. And then I think a lot of people that it mentioned there, they probably need to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Warnerhan, Dr. Z. I appreciate that. And that ridiculous and routine thing, that language, that specific language is really came from listening to the 36 Black mothers and birthing
Hmm.
people um, and their experiences as I right in the meaning making of their experiences using their words back onto the sacred birth quality framework. There was just running, right, this running, it could be a sub thing or it could be a construct, an added construct, right, to this is that um, people who are in the space of providing care day in and day out, like I'll even take myself, I'll use I statements. My first year in residency as an OBGYN intern, 2002 to 2003, so 23 to 22 and 3 years ago, in 365 days, on record, I have close to 600 vaginal births that I supported. 600.
Mm.
Some people don't even get that in a lifetime. This was a 12-person residency program at a community hospital. Me, my little intern self. And I'm pretty sure there were more. I just didn't track all of them. But I think I was at like 585 or something, as in 1 year. So clearly, what can be ridiculous and routine to even an intern with 600 almost births in 1 year, that's not what I did the following 3 years as a resident. And then the 15 years after that as an attending, I may be accustomed to seeing a lot of things that could be frightful, that could be scary, that or it just could be routine and mundane to where at some point I'm like, oh, the baby's out. Like, whoo, like that could be what I am socialized to do. Because if I'm at my 600th birth in
Mm-hmm.
365 days,
Right.
is birth really nuanced, right? Is it novel? Is it precious? Is it sacred? And so I had to think back to again, like reflecting on my positionality, right? This both in being a part of the oppressed, being an oppressor and being oppressed and thinking like in this book, there were moments where I couldn't even write because I was in tears, in agony, because I had chosen to become complicit in this work by being and by becoming and being an OBGYN, even with the level of awareness that I have and continue to grow. And I had to just take a moment and be like, wow, I think because what's ridiculous and routine, right, is either beautiful and precious or freaky and scary as all get out for our communities. And we don't have a place, and I say we, I'm speaking as OBGYNs, we actually don't have a place where where our emotions, our humanity can land. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like a vampire, right? You turn off the humanity so you don't overdo it. That's the only I can think about is that there is this intentional or unintentional, but almost sometimes necessary response to turn off your humanity
Like a
to get
detachment, yeah, to make it through.
exactly. And that's why, right? That's why that detached concern, that neutral apathy that I would write about in this book,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Right.
a lot of OBGYNs are going to resonate with that because I have not seen anyone write about that. What I am seeing, right, I think it's the numbers, either 300 or 400 physicians per year committing suicide.
Mm.
And we have to wonder what proportion of that are people who are in the spaces of like reproduction or birth or life and death. Like I think about cancer, I think about psychiatrists, oncologists, the ways that we have socialized folks to become, right, these physicians, and we're not curating space for their humanity to be held and seen, right? That we're just turning on our patients the way the system turned on us for us to like
Right.
get here. And I don't really see many of my peers talking in that way, Dr. Z. And so I do appreciate spaces with you and the folks who are on today's call, and the people who just supported me, like all the people that I wrote in the acknowledgement section of my book. Even with Cheyenne, I met Cheyenne 2018 at the Decolonizing Birth Conference in Brooklyn with Portia. Why am I blanking on Portia? What is their deal organization? That's horrible. But that's where I met Cheyenne. And that's where I also met Donna and Davis, like the two people who have been
Oh,
so
okay.
instrumental
Mm-hmm.
in my work. I met them at a decolonizing birth conference in Brooklyn, 2018, October.
Well, I know someone that I'm going to gift this book to,
Oh, thanks, Dr. Z.
who is in the throes and they're aspiring OB.
Mm.
And I think I read where you said that, that graduating medical students, and I'm going to also suggest that this be added to our book list at the
Thank
university.
you. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
those were
do
some of
talk
the things
about
I got from there.
yes, yes. And I want people to know who may be listening to this now and in the future. The first recommendation under disciplinary is not medicine, so that people don't be like, girl, what's wrong with you? I actually say I recommend including sacred birth, mobilizing a
Mhm.
new quality paradigm in obstetric care on the reading list, as Dr. Z stated,
Yep.
for undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, and continuing education courses in social sciences. That is the first discipline that I named. Social
Mhm.
sciences, medical humanities, feminist studies, Black feminist studies, misogynoir, anti-racism, nursing, medicine, public health, social epidemiology, social work, comparative women's and gender studies, legal studies, civil rights, improvement and implementation science, measurement science, research justice methodology, participatory action research methodology, and hermeneutic phenomenology. Like, I do believe this, can this book can be, it is my gift. It is a love letter. And I do hope that it can help people, even those who are not care or in birth work, but we are in some
Mhm.
form of birthing, right? Something in our lives. And so I hope that the work is a methodology that people can apply to whatever that they're doing, because we all deserve safety and accountability, right? We all deserve autonomy. Um, thank you, thank you. Um, we all deserve communication, information exchange, right? We all deserve anti-racism that centers our blackness and our dignity in blackness. We deserve not to experience misogynoir. We deserve empathy and humanity. We deserve holistic care. So um, I wrote this at an incredibly challenging time, but I'm very grateful that I
Mhm.
got through it. And I just want to say thank you to you and all the folks who joined from session 1 to 8 or in between. And thank you to Cheyenne Varner, the Educated Birth, and thank you to our marketing and tech specialist, Julia Grace Scott. So I look forward to 2026. I am going to start a different series, still under the name of You, Me, and Sacred Birth, but this time it's going to be me inviting folks who are champions of this particular work to ask them 5 or 6 of the same questions to get a sense of what this book means to their work, but also how they can provide guidance to other people on how to utilize the work from this book in other areas. And so we will be featuring Dr. Z as well. And um, Iris Harvey has said yes. Dr. Brittany Chambers Butcher has also said yes. So that will hopefully start up January, February, but it will be like a Yumi and Sacred Birth fireside chat with champions, is what we're going to call it. But I really appreciate all of you all. And yeah, let's stay in touch. I will continue to promote this work, on social media, but I'm also looking for other platforms where we can like come together as a community and keep the
Mhm.
conversations going, support one another, collaborate with one another. I'm just looking at a platform that is not, the current platforms that we have,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
something that will allow us to like do this, to meet, to like learn content, curriculum, meetings, fireside chats, all in one platform. So be looking for that as well.
Okay.